Hello, and welcome to another episode of Are You Done Yet? The podcast about your work and project management challenges. I'm Mike Taylor with Innovative E, and as always, I have with me Bryan Quick.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, so Bryan, we got the holidays behind us, got all the R&R, the vacation, all the stuff all packed away now. We're mid-January, and we got a lot to talk about for 2022. It's going to be an exciting year.
Yeah, it sure is. I'm really excited about it myself. We've been spending a lot of time, you and I and others. We're also working with a marketing firm to talk about, what do we want to be? What does Innovative E want to be? And what's our point of view that we bring to the table? And it's really refining things that we've been talking about for the last, year and a half on this podcast, as well as, you and I have been kind of around the block, so to speak, in our project management careers.
Yeah.
We formulated opinions. And we kind of see what's going on right now with market trends and things like that. And we're just solidifying that. So we wanted to talk about that today and then give you, the users, the audience, an opportunity to give us your feedback or point of view. We're going to post this to LinkedIn. It's going to be on YouTube. You can always use the comments there, or you can get to us at info@innovative-e.com if you want to just share your opinion about what you hear today. So it's January 19th, Mike, already.
That's hard to believe already. All right, January's 2/3 gone already.
Yeah, and being new to Florida, we've been here for a couple of years now. We're in the Jacksonville area, as some of our viewers know. I talk about that quite a bit.
Big change from Chicago.
Big change, and I wrote down sort of the difference, I think. Comparing to Chicago weather, what the months are like in Jacksonville, St. Augustine area, Florida. So I've got it written down here. So January is kind of like November in Illinois. And then it goes October, August, October.
And then November, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's as cold as the mapping gets.
Yeah, that's it. So if you want to live basically with August and the occasional October, and it is kind of cold today. So I think
about 2 or 3 weeks of cold. Yeah.
Yeah, my theory is January is kind of like November in Illinois because it could freeze. And so it's 37 right now. It was 35 last night, and it's 9 o'clock, about 8:45 in the morning right now. It's 37 degrees. By 3 o'clock, it's going to be 71.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I said, winter's over at 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock, turn the heater off, turn the air conditioner on.
Yeah. Yeah. So we digress, but it's been great, experience for us. Anyway,
been a transformation for you moving down, and like you said, it's been kind of we're going through a transformation. The whole industry is going through a transformation. There's a lot that's going on. We've talked a lot about the events of the last couple of years have kind of come up with this whole new hybrid kind of work that's accelerated the digital transformation journey. And that's a big reason you talk about the marketing firm working with. It's not just marketing. We're working with, our internal teams and our partners to kind of transform what we're bringing to the market based on what we're hearing and what the capabilities of the technology is, and try to stay ahead of that so that we're building towards the future with our offerings and our products and our partner offerings and products as well.
Right. So that really kind of brings it home. So one of the things we're talking about, and kind of the themes, we'll throw you a couple of themes here and kind of maybe get your feedback on where you think we're going with this and whether we're on the right track. Love to hear from you. Is we want to reimagine project management, right? So a lot of you would say, okay, great, whatever, reimagining something. He's probably going to talk about, things I've heard before, but reimagining project management and sort of what that means in today's world in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what we think it means. Transforming project and work management into a competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. You can almost pause there for a second, right? Yeah. And say, what do you mean a competitive advantage? Project management's a necessary evil, right? And you got to do it to get stuff done. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to build project plans, except for the project managers, right? But all the workers, like, that's not my job. Developers, your engineers, your people getting stuff done, they're like, that's too much. It's too much work.
Right.
I hate it.
Right, like reimagining project management for someone that, you know, is basically staff to a project would mean I don't have to basically tell the project manager what my status is all the time and I can just do my job.
Right.
Maybe that's what reimagining project management is for that individual.
Hmm.
And maybe reimagining project management for a project manager would be I don't have to spend as much time asking people
Yeah, chasing
how it's
data,
going.
right?
Right.
It's
Chasing
always
data.
it's a perpetual issue. Finding things and aggregating data, using
Right.
spreadsheets and emails and SharePoint lists and databases and everything else to pull information and put it in places that you can then get
Right.
something meaningful out of it to finally get to the point where you can make a decision,
And we've been
collaborate on
talking
it.
about that for years, is like how much time people are spending putting together a PowerPoint deck on how the project's going on a weekly basis, just so they can post it somewhere and someone may or may not even look at it.
Right.
So transforming project management, reimagining, sorry, to that person would mean maybe I don't have to do that anymore. Maybe the system could do that for me. And then, transforming project and work management into a competitive advantage, that's a heavy statement.
Hmm.
As you said, taking the basically your best work, your project management that's going on and on the most important initiatives that your organization is working on, and transforming that from just keeping track of what's happening
Hmm.
to your project management and your ability to execute on these projects well becomes a competitive advantage in your area, in your field, whether that be in healthcare or in financial services or whatever the case may be.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a few pillars you're starting to hit on them there of what that transformation means. It's not just words, right? It's
Right.
allowing everyone to participate in
Mm-hmm.
whatever you know role that particular stakeholder needs to participate as easy as possible, and that's saying a
Right.
lot too. So it's been traditionally very hard for people to, and you think about your traditional project and work management systems and PPM systems, that you have a core set of folks, your project managers, who have access to all the data. Then you have your constituents, your stakeholders, your executives, and then you have kind of some of your team members, that are a lot of team members that are doing work, and then you have other
Right.
people that are kind of on the periphery. Getting all those people the right kind of licensing from a tool perspective, and getting
Right.
all the information in a way that it's there and can be easily manipulated, has
Mm-hmm.
always been a huge challenge and a huge lift. And those things are changing. The technology's changing,
Right.
and the concepts around it are changing. We heard
Right.
I think we mentioned this in another podcast, but we had one of our EPMO um, customer, the director of one of the EPMOs, say that they're really moving away from kind of the traditional role of the PMO and
Mm-hmm.
the triple constraint, the time, budget, and scope. So they're really looking at how they can be more inclusive for everyone to be involved, like you were saying. So that's a big pillar of
Right.
it right there, I think.
Yeah, it's huge. And I've always said that, when people have said, yeah, I don't want to involve the team members and have them do the self updates, which basically automates what we were just talking about. If
Hmm.
people are able to use a system, and put in their progress against the plan, then the project manager doesn't have to ask them what's going on and it can flow through. That's been the PPM system solution to it, is tell me what you're doing, tell me how much time you spent, and then I'll automate that delivery to the project manager. And that was
Yep.
fine several years ago, but what we're talking about is taking that to a whole nother level and saying that the that just do your job, and
Hmm.
basically we're trying to build systems and have a vision for, we'll keep track of it for you
Hmm.
so you don't have to take that extra step. And that's when the revolution is going to happen. That's when
Right.
doing the work is actually keeping track of the work,
Right.
and having
Yep.
intelligent systems that are collaborative enough to say, okay, just in the course of doing business, the course of completing your day, basically the system is intelligent to know enough to know what you did and then
Right.
reflect that in reporting.
Yep.
So
And
that's the vision.
yeah, and maybe this is a good time if I'm not getting ahead of myself. I know you were going to talk a little bit more about kind of that central collaboration. We've talked about it before,
Yeah.
but how in the Microsoft ecosystem that has really coalesced around the Teams product, the Microsoft Teams product, and how that
Right.
that product is really just, Microsoft. And we've said this before, they're really trying to end context switching, which just means you can stay
Right.
in one type of application basically, or environment the whole day as much as possible. It's never going to happen entirely, but that I think
Right.
that environment is Teams for Microsoft, and for
Yeah.
others it can be custom made portals and things like that, which we're
Mhm.
working with some customers on that kind of concept as well. But the idea is that you really you maximize doing the work, and in course of doing that work, you're not having to switch over to all these other tools, and
Right.
the information is being put into, and it may be moving into a tool, a project management tool like Project for the Web or Project Online or ADO or something like
Right.
that. But most of the people are still just working right here in this collaborative Microsoft
Right.
Teams environment, which is huge.
Right. And okay, so that's it, right? So that brings it all home, is like, how the heck is the system going to know what I'm doing and be able to keep track of it? And how can using and completing my everyday work, how can that be translated into reporting? Well, let's just use Microsoft Teams. Let's just do that. Just use that all day long, like you have been already, like a lot of you have been already. I'll share an infographic right now, Mike, that basically explains how prolific Teams has really gotten. Here's the infographic. So take a look at this.
Wow.
So, right. So, I mean, just and I think the global pandemic, you could say, and I think Microsoft would also say, and they have, that accelerated Teams growth because you have
Adoption.
hybrid work
Yeah.
going on,
and
and
and it's
and
here to
it really
stay,
just kind
right?
of shot it in the arm, not to use a bad analogy.
Yeah.
Uh, but look at this. So 91% um, of the Fortune 100, which is of course 91 companies, use Teams,
Hmm.
and more than 500,000 organizations use Teams. And some of
Wow.
you are saying, okay, I'm on my, I don't use Teams. Okay. But if you're using the Microsoft platform, chances are you're probably going to be exposed to it soon, if not you haven't already. And when you get into it, it's kind of addictive. I mean, I'm in it all day. I do everything in Teams,
Yeah.
even this podcast. So
Yep.
I'm in it all day long. You've got contextual documents that you're working on these projects. You've got the ability to pull a project schedule into the Teams experience. You've got the ability to pull reporting into a Teams experience. Just stay there, and by staying there, we're gonna decrease the distance and increase the proximity between the work you're doing and the representation of that work in the data, because you can just work in Teams and the data will be represented. That's our goal.
Yeah. So it's really it's taking that whole concept of collaboration, and that you're collaborating in that Teams environment,
Right.
and allowing people to stay for the most part in that environment, and let
Mhm.
the work it's multiple levels of collaboration. It's the people to people collaboration, and it's also the application collaboration. So
Right.
it actually, in many ways, we're looking at ways to use, and it's not, there's no big secret here that we're using all the modern Microsoft technologies. It's not just Teams. We're using the Power Platform and the Dataverse and those components to be able to bring all this stuff together.
So it's all about Microsoft Teams, and it's all about kind of using that as your system that you're in all day long, not context switching to other things. And we can bring the project management experiences and the data collection into that, into Teams. So that's what
Right.
we're trying to do with our Teams for Project Management, Teams for PM product that we've been talking about. It's a power app, and what it does is, basically pulls the data from Project Online and Project for the Web into a common Teams um, experience, and pulls
Experience.
in risks and issues, changes, lessons learned into that experience as well, and allows you to report on them without ever leaving Teams. So your whole
Yeah,
team
and it's
can
it's
work in
actually
there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even more than the reporting. It's actually just if you take a Teams for PM and Project Online implementation, if you didn't have Project for the Web, it actually makes Project Online better, because it,
Yeah.
it pulls that it's not just better together. I guess it is better together, Teams and Project Online, but what it's and the Power Platform, it's pulling that information in, and then presents it in ways like you mentioned, issues and risk, and we've talked about this. It presents it in a grid so that you can actually go manipulate these issues and risk, and it goes back to
Hmm.
the particular project without having to go to project, open the project
Right.
plan, go to the issues, risk in that project plan, and update it there. There's like 6 steps there. We do it all in one step. And
Right.
that's actually something people have asked for years. I mean, there's a bunch of these pain points we'll start to check off that, just through doing all these project management and work management systems that we've implemented over the years, hundreds of them. We've heard these same kind of pain points, these friction
Mhm.
points. One is, hey, yeah, this is great, this Power BI dashboard or this Tableau dashboard that shows me all my issues and risks. Can I click on it and go change them? No, because that's just a report. No, now we're
Right.
making, the collaboration between the applications happen
Mhm.
real time so that you can go
Mhm.
do it and again stay in that
Stay in
team's
team.
kind of central place. Yeah, it's
And
very cool.
and we've talked about, project portfolio management systems, including Project Online, Project Server, and other competing products out there being destination solutions that
Hmm.
like project portfolio management is somewhere you need to go and log something or represent some data or increment a project schedule. And what we're trying to do is don't go somewhere else. Just stay in Teams where you're working all day anyway. You're editing documents, you're creating artifacts, you're collaborating with your team. Just stay there, and then we'll take care of the data for you.
Yep. And for those who Bryan mentioned before, you're not really using Teams, or maybe you're only dipping your toe in it,
Hmm.
using it for meetings, or maybe using it for some document management or some team collaboration things. Give it a little bit of time. We were,
Hmm.
about 2.5 years ago, even as a partner, Teams was brand new, and we were kind of like, it's this fancy kind of Skype thing, right? And it does some
Yeah.
other things, but then we really committed to it, and we started doing internal lunch and learns, and we started really
Yep.
learning the ins and outs of it. And as you mentioned a few minutes ago, now I spend my whole day in Teams, and I
Yeah.
switch over to Outlook as occasionally.
Yeah.
There's a few things Teams hasn't done on the mail front that I'm sure they'll get there. But after that, there's some point solutions I get into time to time, but most of the time, all the collaboration on everything is all done right in Teams interface.
Right. So getting back to concepts, I just want to read through this whole thing. So transform project and work management into a competitive advantage with a cloud-based modern collaboration tool set that engages everyone in working toward your core objectives. So that's the whole statement there. And of course the cloud-based modern collaboration tool set is the Microsoft provided platform centralized in Teams.
I was going to say you could almost add the word. I was just going to say centralized into it, because there's
Centralized, yeah.
a lot of cloud-based solutions, but the
Right.
problem that you have with those is, you're taking your data into all these third-party
Right.
clouds, and you're not centralizing it into one secure cloud.
Right.
There's all kinds of issues that creates. One, the data's not there, so you didn't have to
Right.
now think about connectors or export import kind of
Right.
functionality. Um, and two, it's a different set of security models and everything else that are involved. If you have
Right.
everything pretty much consolidated in the Microsoft cloud, now it's much easier to use all this. Yes, it means you're committed to Microsoft, but most of our
Right.
customers are already committed to Microsoft. They have been for a long time. They're on the platform.
Yeah.
They're on that journey. And
Hmm.
as they get further there and they embrace the modern tool sets, all this just lights up.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts come to mind there. So you might be saying to yourself, look, I'm using a competing product, non-Microsoft. I can pull that into Teams. It has a hook, right?
The
So I
left
can I
rail
can open
or
up.
a channel, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I open up I've got it in a tab or I've got it on a left rail app. Okay, where's your data going? Where's your data?
Hmm.
Your data is
Yep.
not going into a centralized, secure Microsoft centric cloud. It's going off to cloud to be named, right? And then you're using that for some of your projects, and then you're using something else for some of your other projects, and then one department's using this and one department's using that. And pretty soon you've got 3 or 4 places where you've got project management type and work management type data.
Right.
So what we're saying is don't like instead of doing that, an alternative would be there are many tools within the Microsoft ecosystem that have different levels of project management and work management rigor. You kind of you can run the gamut from you've got Planner, right, which is
Mhm.
just for simple task management. You've got Project for the Web, which is for basic, simpler project management. So not task management, but project management with
With
an end date,
dependencies,
constraints,
right. Yep.
dependencies. But
Resources. Yep.
yeah, so you're trying to get something done you're trying to do it on a certain schedule. Planner's not going to offer you the ability to do that because it doesn't have like a trickle down effect on the rest of the Gantt chart. It
Right.
doesn't have Gantt chart visualization, and the reporting's quite limited. So you upgrade to Project for the Web, and then you have all that. You've got your Kanban board, you've got your Gantt chart, so to speak. They call it a timeline because it's supposed to be simple. You can pull those things fully into Teams, and then
Mhm.
you can still look at your project online for your enterprise project management, and Innovative E can help you pull that entirely to Teams as well. So now you've got three different kinds of tools, but your data is still all centralized, and you can report on all kinds of work that's going on rather than going off and basically going to a shadow IT scenario where it's not endorsed by IT. You're going off and getting, Thursday.org or whatever it is that you're going out and getting. And that thing means that your data's over there. You've got different privacy policies that you need to adhere to. You've got another vendor that you've got to worry about, and that data is disconnected from everything else.
Yeah, so I'd like to pause there. So you made a couple really good points. You talk about the data being in different places versus being on the
Yeah.
Microsoft platform. You go to Thursday.org or com or whatever it is, or these other applications that are out there. I love that. Then you can you what's happening there, and for a long time I've wanted to write a book, Stop the Insanity, stop doing the same thing and expect different results, right? Because you've been doing this as long as we have. You see people do the same things and they expect different results. People want to push the easy button. They go to Thursday.org because I'm an HR department. I just need to manage these onboarding activities, or I'm in marketing. I need to manage these campaigns or whatever. Yeah, okay. So there's some templates there, and it may work a little easier to begin with. But what you're doing is you're doing the same thing that people have been doing in IT for 30 years. You're going after a point solution with a point application, and you're not thinking through the whole modern way to do it. And that's what we're really talking about here in a modern kind of work management system. The core to it is you've got to be able to pull things together at the core. And that's why Microsoft built the Power Platform and the Dataverse and Azure and data lakes and all those things that they're making available, and over 300 connectors that allow all this application collaboration. This is the future, so that you don't go off and go with these shadow IT third-party cloud things, and now you're in the same situation that you are and have been for all these years, where you now got all this data in different places.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of the podcast, we talked about what project managers or work managers lament is chasing data. Now you're going over here to get some data,
Oh
going
yeah.
over here to get some other data, going over
Yeah.
here to get some other stuff, pulling it into a spreadsheet, munging it together, putting it in a PowerPoint, and presenting it. And
Yeah.
you're just creating a ton of work to do nothing but change and present data, rather than have the core data in a common area and start working from there. That is really, when you think about what we're doing and what we're trying to do here, is we're really just embracing and trying to make this vision that Microsoft has all up for digital transformation, make it a reality for work and project management by
Right.
getting these concepts through and then putting the right kind of teeth into from an application layer of making it happen.
So,
Sorry, I get a little animated with this.
but I'm glad you're animated about it, because that is basically the crux of it is. And it is frustrating to kind of see folks go out and do the point solution thing, but it's not their fault. I mean, they're just trying to get something done, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
they're just trying to get work done, and they basically see what they want to get done and what they want to do, and they aren't really concerned about the larger organization's data management and things like that, because they're tactically trying to address something. And
Right.
and those are the people that we want to try to talk to. And when we're talking to you today, is we want to basically show you that it's you're not going to sacrifice anything in terms of your agility to use a tool, or the usability of a tool, or the modern interface that you're looking for. But you also can centralize your data, and you can report on it centrally and automate that reporting of all different kinds of work. That's what we're trying to tell you, and that's what we're working toward here. Is you're not
Right.
sacrificing that agility, but Microsoft had to make it easier, Mike. I mean, it has to be easy, because
Mm-hmm.
or else people are going to do that and they're going to navigate toward, I'm just trying to get my stuff done. So I
Right,
just need a
right.
tool to do that. So that's what they
And
did.
yep. And there is still a little bit of a gap. I mean, like you said, some of these
Yeah.
organizations have templates for an HR department, but these solutions will get there, and us will make these solutions better, and they'll
Right.
get to the point where on this modern platform they're can really solve these individual point challenges without much additional work. But a phrase just came to mind, and I don't know why, but it was like, you solve, if you go and do these point solutions or point challenges with point solutions, you're solving today's challenge but creating tomorrow's headache.
Right.
So don't do that, right?
Yeah. And
Solve
yeah,
today's challenge and empower and future proof tomorrow.
it's like having a too good of a time on a Saturday night, and it's tomorrow's headache.
That's right,
So,
exactly.
but if you're basically, if you're the IT advocate and you're saying, okay, I've got this really powerful Microsoft platform and I really want to make it work for work management scenarios and a variety of different kinds of work, we want to talk to you because we know that you're advocating for keeping the data centralized, and you're basically trying to keep the data in a private, secure cloud that you can trust. But yet, you have other needs in the organization, and they're going out and they're saying, well, I just want to use this because I like it. Well, we want to talk to you too because we can give them a great solution and a great tool, but we can keep that data where you want to keep it.
And now we're almost come full circle to what is a strategic advantage, right? Now with
Right.
everything in one cloud and in one centralized kind of data and application framework,
Mm-hmm.
then you can go find out what everyone is doing, and you
Mm-hmm.
can take that information and easily make it into um, you know decision making, decision support, actionable information that
Mm-hmm.
is readily available. And even further down the road, and this is we're getting into it and it starts to get a little heady here, but the more of this data accumulates into your customer, your
Right.
private cloud there that is part of the Microsoft ecosystem that you purchase, and more of it accumulates, you can
Mm-hmm.
start to do even more and more interesting things. And there's going to be machine learning and AI that you're going to be able to apply to it. You're going to do predictive analysis on
Mm-hmm.
work and project management work. And it's not quite there yet, but it's getting there quickly. The key is you've got to start the foundational layer. And actually, this is true of any data transformation effort. People will talk about this that are data transformation experts or digital transformation experts, is that you have to think through the data layer. The data layer becomes key. And what
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about here is enabling these work management systems, work and project management systems today, and building these data structures and building this ongoing thing into the modern
Mm-hmm.
platform, so that tomorrow you're going to solve today's challenges and have a lot more tomorrow from a strategic kind of perspective.
Right.
And you're never going to get that with all these multiple third-party point solutions and disparate
Right.
data.
No.
And you're also and eventually you're going to really see the cost savings. And it doesn't appear to be, when you look, Thursday.org versus Project for the Web,
Right.
okay, it's not that much different in price per
Let's,
user.
comparing a list, like looking at column fodder and saying it has this or it doesn't have that. There's a bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's not coming out in that side-by-side analysis, which is the
Right.
whole picture. Because now you have, like you said, you have all these other things that you're doing in this centralized work and project management platform, collaboration
Right.
fabric.
Yeah, and you're the team's ecosystem. If you're in an organization that has adopted that to some degree, you've already made a decision that that's where you're going to be doing your collaboration.
Right.
That's going to be the system where you collaborate and where you
Hmm.
spend your day, right? Um, it just makes sense that that's where your project management should also be happening because
Right.
it's project management is about getting things done. It's about collaborating with one another. And I don't think we talk about collaboration enough when we talk about project management, but it's the people doing the work and working with one another that make the difference. That's
Oh,
always been my
absolutely.
experience. I mean, I could plan a project to the nth degree and make sure that, I had every hour or every minute of every day accounted for. But what happened was, and what happened was usually it was the team that had to come together and make it happen. and the plan was never completely accurate.
Yeah,
So
and that's an interesting point there. The team that has to come together and make it happen in a
mhm,
corporate setting is typically not necessarily the people who came up with the concept, or they're the doers, the implementers
right,
of it, whether
yeah,
it's IT developers, engineers, whoever,
hmm
subcontractors, vendors, the list goes on and on.
hmm
What's interesting is that's and all the tools bake collaboration in at that level.
hmm
Collaboration starts at the very beginning. It starts with
that's right,
ideation,
yeah,
right? You've got to be able to get the best ideas. You've got to be able to vet those ideas. You've got to be able to then say, all right, we've got those called down to a certain number. There's always, limited resources, budget, and time. So you got to say, all right, which of those are
yeah,
going to give us the best results? So now let's put those through like a business case kind of analysis and go
right,
through and really vet them and say, if we apply this, what's our return on investment, or what
mhm,
strategic asset are we building, or what competitive advantage are we building, or what kind of a regulatory compliance thing, a checkbox are we making that we have to do by a certain date? So all that goes into there, and then you come out with, now you get to the point where the doers have to pick it up and start doing it. But the collaboration
right,
typically has happened in completely different systems all along the way, and that
all
data
along the
doesn't
way,
follow.
yeah,
And these people that were up at the beginning oftentimes are excluded from these tools, from what we were saying earlier, because they're
hmm
because of licensing, because of access, because they're just not thought about, right? So it's
right,
hard to get them into these tools. So the people that were in at the very beginning, and that's what some customers have told us, is we need this whole ecosystem of stakeholders involved in everything. It's not just the doers. And typical tool providers will say, well, you got a license, you want this person involved, license, this person involved,
oh yeah, yeah,
license, this person
yeah,
involved, license. And
right,
those conversations get to be pretty tiresome.
yeah. I
And if you
had
can
them
just have
for
it in there,
know.
yeah,
When I was working at Microsoft, I had those conversations every day for 7 years. But
I know,
let,
I know you
let,
did.
look at look at it that way. And then I always said that, I didn't want licensing to be an impediment to productivity. And I don't think Microsoft really does either. And that's why they came up with recently that, what's rolling out right now is that licensing for Project for the Web isn't required if you're a team member providing an update to a task.
Yeah, and
So,
see,
I
that's
mean,
key.
wow.
That Microsoft is really understanding that
Yeah.
at what they're the key to this is to make as much of the updating and engagement, the collaboration end to end, available to everyone. So what you're saying there is anyone with an O365 M365 license that's assigned to a project task can update
hmm
that task
Yeah.
without any licensure at all, which it completely
Additional, right. I
eliminates.
mean,
Yeah,
they've
I mean
got
they have to have the Office
your
license, right?
Microsoft 365 stuff, but people license the enterprise for that. And it's at any
Right. And
level. It can be like an E1 or an F1.
And that's always been the complaint before of customers.
Yeah.
So this battles you fought for 7 years. We were there side by side with you and other
Mhm.
folks at Microsoft, with sitting with a customer trying to explain to them why, yeah, I know you've got an Office 365 or an M365
Yeah.
license, but yeah, you got to purchase this Essentials license, or yeah, you got to
Right.
purchase this other license. And
I know.
it was always a battle. And
Sure.
honestly, it was hard to explain. It's like, yeah, if they're just doing an update or just want to see into it, I can't tell
Yeah.
you. I know what Microsoft
And
has
look,
to make money, but now they get it, and they're solving those
yeah.
kinds of problems.
Of course, when you develop software, you want, it's not free. I mean,
No,
so, but what they're doing is a sort of a different perspective, is just by embracing a larger community in the project management activity, and in by participating in it, they're embracing a larger community, and they're pulling that larger community into um, another workload within the Microsoft Cloud ecosystem, which is not a bad thing.
yep.
It's a very good
And
thing.
if you're going to build strategic advantage through
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying, there's going to be some cost to it, and the cost will transfer from areas. So now all your users can participate by doing updates, but now you've got some of these power platforms and Azure licensing components that are going to be for a smaller subset of folks, but still are going to be there. So there's some new costs associated with it. But if you're getting strategic advantage, you don't get something for nothing. So
No.
you're going to get,
Right.
and if you're really thinking strategically around being able to have all up work and project management, visibility, accountability, control,
Mhm.
then this additional investment, you're going to pay a little less here and a little more here, but you're going to get a tremendous multiplier effect of value out of it. And that's strategic advantage there, right?
Right. Yeah. I want to kind of bring it home a little bit, Mike, because we were talking kind of high level concept at the beginning of the conversation, and we said, we want to make the work you're doing basically into the data. So we want to decrease the distance between the work that you're doing and the data that represents it. So that's kind of a heady concept.
Right.
So let me give you the audience some examples of how that already is happening with the Microsoft solution and our Teams for Project Management app added sort of to it. Risk and issue logging. Okay, so we talk about risk and issue logging. Okay, so yesterday, logging a risk meant, if you were using Project Online, going to the project team website, if you know the URL for that, or navigating to Project Center and then finding the project and then clicking on it and then going to the project team website and logging a risk. Or even worse, you're not using Project Online and you're using another system that you log risks and issues in, or you're using Excel. Okay. So that's where everything stops, like Excel. So that's where everything stops, right? So remember that commercial where, like, it was Visa or something, and they're trying to there's people like, and they're paying, with their card by touch, just in the line, and like on a very efficient line, and everybody's paying with their credit card by touch, and then you get to the person that's like cash. Right? And the whole line stops, and they're like, "Oh God!" Everybody's getting frustrated, and you're paying with cash. Well, you're using Excel. Okay, so you're using Excel to log risks and issues. Where's your data? It's in Excel. It's in a spreadsheet.
On your desktop or in a file share.
Yeah. You're not reporting on that data, and if you are, you're basically copying and pasting and re-representing that in PowerPoint. So have a nice day.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so here's where it comes home for risk and issue logging with the Teams for PM app and Teams and leveraging the Microsoft ecosystem. If you're chatting in Teams and everybody does that all day long now, your thread of discussion, right? Somebody brings up what you feel is a risk or issue. And I've always felt that risks and issues are participatory. It's not the project manager that logs them or works them. It's the team. Okay. So
they're the ones closest to the work. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, instead of going wherever the heck you went or telling the project manager to log it on their spreadsheet, you right click and you say log risk, and it's right from the chat. So you're logging it right from the chat. And where does it go? It goes into the Dataverse, which is the database behind all this stuff. And then it surfaces where? In a report automatically, in a central screen automatically for editing. And it creates an awareness on the project team immediately about the issue or risk that you're logging.
And it goes back into Project Online or Project for the Web.
Yeah, and it goes back into that destination system, right? Project Online. It's bi-directional. So if you did go over there and look for it, it's over there too. That's
application collaboration right there.
Application collaboration.
And it shortens the distance, like you said, between the work and the reporting or management of the work. And to your point, what happens, and people will belabor this, but it's so true. Risk and issues are just underutilized in terms of project management until the end. And then somebody has an Excel spreadsheet, or even worse, they have a notepad with them all on there, right? They're like, oh, we got all these problems. Well, a lot of those were there all along, but nobody logged them because it was hard to do.
Right.
And the data was just, it was, you put it in different areas like spreadsheets or whatever. Now, by reducing this distance, the data gets there, and now you have something to actually manage.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people who have worked on my project teams or with me in the past are saying, well, here goes Bryan again on risk management. But it's always been a huge thing for me. Maybe it was because my dad was in insurance. I don't know. It was instilled at a young age. I'm not sure. But
RMI.
But basically, risk management is so important. If you guys aren't doing it and you're not doing it effectively, then that's why your projects are late. That's why the scope creeped. Right. That's why your customers don't understand what they're getting. It's risk management, people.
It's a big part of it.
And it is, and it's enlightening when you think about those concepts and you bring them to a collaborative space on your project team. So we'll talk about that more, I think, on this podcast. But
one other thing to add there about the risk management, and some people may be saying, Bryan, well, we do fine without any formal risk management. Okay, you
You're
don't
not.
have a formal risk management. Well, what's happening is you're the team members, the people that are doing it, the architects, whoever are associated with it, they're doing that risk management, and they're
Yeah.
doing it through collaboration. It may just be, dialogue, audio, a Teams chat. It may be on an Excel log, or it may be otherwise done. But the risk management is happening if projects are
Hmm.
being successful.
Hmm.
Risk and issue management.
So we'll pontificate on that another time. But
Yeah.
um, and then once the data is centralized, Mike, we can drive decisions from valuable insight. So it's like we talked about. So you don't have to worry about whether you're centralizing your data or not. We'll take care of that for you with the teams for PM app and teams and project working together in a as a unit. Um, you're just going to basically get your automated status reporting. You're going to get your executive dashboarding, and the data is going to be consistent because it's going in a consistent way and it's going in an automated way. So that's how we're going to get you that. It's the spend less time creating status reports and manually representing the data. Spend more time doing the actual work.
Yep.
Another way
And
that we're
manage
yeah,
and managing by exception, right? When you have that
right,
data, then managers aren't chasing the data. It's a recurring theme. You're not chasing data. You're
right,
doing something. You're spending more time doing something about it.
right. I want to give the audience one more bring it home sort of way that we're reducing um, the distance and increasing the proximity, right, of the data and the work that's going on. It's the document creation and the document collaboration and document editing. Okay, so a lot of you are saying, okay, I'm using Teams, but I'm just basically putting my documents in a file folder within Teams, but I'm not using the co-authoring and the editing capabilities of Teams yet because and what you are doing is you're emailing your documents around still as attachments. And you need people, please stop doing that. No, I just want to.
Yeah.
So
Again,
basically, yeah,
stop doing these crazy things, right? It's going to
yeah,
go in the book.
right. So basically, if you're creating project artifacts, edit them within Teams, and you can still use the full capability of Word or Excel or PowerPoint within Teams, and do use the co-authoring capabilities within that file folder structure. Create the project artifact and the project document that you're working on right there inside of the channel that's for that project, so that you're not emailing things around. Even if you're doing external sharing, try to pull your guests into Teams as well and share the channel with them, even if they're external, because and we're doing that with all of our customers now. We're pulling them into our Teams environment and we're collaborating on the project, collaborating on the documents. So that's another way to bring it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a fantastic way. We do it every day. Every day.
Yep. It's been a great catch up, Mike, and a great episode
Yeah.
of Are You Done Yet? So, I mean, we're continuing to hone and work on these concepts, and we'd love to hear from you. So, again, you know, if you know us, ping us when we post this on LinkedIn or YouTube. Send us a comment, or send us an email at info@innovative-e.com.
Yep. Sounds great. Thanks, Bryan. Thanks, everybody.
All right, till next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.